everyone's looking for the young guy. They're looking for McVay. I think take a shot out Todd Bowles, get him a second shot at head coach, and see if he can do it.
I don't think they will. If they don't have Anthony Davis, I'm saying it right now. If Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
It's crazy. And our kids will know how great Tom Brady is because he's going to be playing.
Yes, it is 15.0%.
That's what the Yankees brought Garrett Cole to do.
He was a 6th-round pick. This is a fairy tale story that's being written in front of our eyes.
People like to call them their JV team, and they just stole one of their better players.
They didn't struggle against the Padres. The Padres didn't really put up a fight in most of the games.
Jerry Jones, hope you're listening.
Hi, I'm Landon Bowe, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NHL Opinions of the Week. We're going to be reviewing the first round of the NHL Draft. So let's start with number one, the Montreal Canadiens. It had been penciled in. A lot of people had thought that they were going to pick Shane Wright, but they pick Juraj Slavkovsky, the left wing from Finland. How do you feel about this pick, Austin?
I love it. He really was the guy that I would have chosen if we did a mock draft. And we'll probably do a mock draft next season. But he is a great player. I'm not surprised that he went number one. I thought he was the best player heading into the draft, as I said. He has a lot of skills that I think can transfer easily next season into the NHL, and I think he'll be playing in a Canadiens jersey this upcoming year.
Yeah, he did play well. He didn't play as well as he did in Finland, but he played better in the Olympics against older competition. So we'll see. I wouldn't be shocked if he comes up earlier this season. Now we go to the New Jersey Devils selecting Simon Nemec, the defenseman. And I'm a little shocked that they picked defenseman again. I know they picked defenseman last year, I'm pretty sure. So, but you can never have too much defenseman. But what do you think about this?
Yeah, and the two Slovakian players taken at the top two is really crazy to me. Both players are from Slovakia, and that's where the top two picks go. And I was shocked to see, that they took another defenseman. It makes sort of sense that they're planning to get rid of some guys, but they already have Dougie Hamilton. So I don't know, but we'll see. They'll have to prove us wrong.
Yeah, and now we move on to the Arizona Coyotes. They picked Logan Cooley, the center. He was second on the USA Hockey National Team Development Program under 18. He had 75 points, 27 goals, 48 assists in 51 games. I think an offensive center like this really works for the Coyotes, who just need a lot of everything.
Yeah, and I like Logan Cooley. Not as much as Shane Wright. I'm surprised Shane Wright fell as far as he did, but Cooley's a good player. He's smaller in size compared to most centers, but he is a good two-way force, so Arizona looks to build with him.
Yeah, and now we go to number 4, where the Kraken select Shane Wright. They get a center to pair with their number 2 pick last year, Beniers. So they're getting a lot of center depth, which they need because that was one of the things they were lacking in the expansion draft. They just didn't get a lot of centers. So now they get another center who a lot of people thought was going to be the first overall pick.
Yeah, and if you look back to really, really good teams, a lot of teams have two very, very good centers. If you look at just this year, Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid both went far, both great centers, and maybe if they had a better goalie tandem in the back, they could have made it further. And then you look Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby. There's been Mark Messier and Wayne Gretzky. I mean, if you can have two insane centers, you can go a long way.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Now we go to number 5. The Flyers selected Cutter Gauthier, a left wing. So I think they definitely need offense, and I think a left wing is a good pick for them here.
Yeah, I definitely like this pick. The Flyers are looking to rebuild after a brutal season with high expectations, and they kind of fell through. They had to trade their franchise mainstay, Claude Giroux, and they're having to change everything up from where it has been the past couple seasons. But going with this pick, I think it's a good pick to like restart everything.
That's a very good point. Now we move on to number 6. The Columbus Blue Jackets selected David Jurasek, the defenseman. However, he was out more than 3 months because of a knee injury, so it's probably going to take more time for him to recover and see just how well he is. But Jackets, I think, are trying to get out of that rebuild, and they do have some nice defensemen. So, but they add another defenseman, which I think is what they needed.
Yeah, this one surprised me because he has been injured. I would have gone with Kevin Korchinski, who we're gonna get to with the next pick, because he has injury problems, uh, and I don't necessarily know whether or not he's gonna be able to rebound and be as good as he was previously. We've seen some injuries derail a career, even if it's very young. So I hope that doesn't happen, but it does concern me with the pick.
And now we go to what you teased earlier, and that's the Chicago Blackhawks selecting Kevin Korchinski, the defenseman. Um, they traded with the Ottawa Senators in the Alex DeBrincat trade. I think this makes sense for the Blackhawks to get a defenseman like Shorinsky because they traded away Adam Bunquist last year to the Blue Jackets, and they also traded away Duncan Keith, who just retired. So defenseman, I think, is a big need for them. They fill it with here.
Yep, I like this pick. I thought that he was probably the second best defenseman in the draft behind the guy who's taken at number 2. So this is definitely a good selection.
Now we're going to number 8. The Red Wings selected Marco Kasper, the center. I believe they traded a center 2 years ago with the Capitals. So selecting a center now, especially a center like Kasper, is really good for them.
Yeah, and this is a good pick in my opinion. I definitely think that this is the right move. The Red Wings are a young team, a team looking to maybe make the playoffs next season, and as much center depth as you can get is good. And I think he was the best player available as well.
Now we go to number 9. The Buffalo Sabres selected Matthew Savoy, the center from Winnipeg, and he's a strong skater, and he was 7th in the Western Hockey League with 90 points in 65 regular season games, and he got 12 points in the playoffs. So I think a nice young piece for the Sabres to build around.
Yeah, and if you remember, they obviously got rid of uh, a big name last year to Vegas, so they obviously needed to bolster their center depth. Now, I don't know if this guy's going to be Jack Eichel, but I could see them hoping and praying that he can be the player for them next in the future.
That's a very good point. Now we're going to number 10. The Anaheim Ducks select Pavel Mintyukov, the defenseman. I know they had good offense last year, and then, of course, you have a great goalie in Jonathan Quick, but I think defense was a liability for them, and so picking a defenseman here makes complete sense to me.
Yeah, and they also traded Hampus Lindholm last season to Boston. This guy is more of an offensive-minded defenseman, so maybe they're trying to get more continuity with their team, but it's a good pick, especially after, like I said, they traded probably their best defenseman away.
Now we go to 11, where the 11th pick where the Coyotes traded with the San Jose Sharks, where they picked Connor Geeky, a center, and he was 4th on Winnipeg with 70 points, and he had 11 points in 15 Western Hockey League playoff games. So I think that's good there. It seems like he needs to be a little bit more developed, and I think that works for the Coyotes because they don't really have a timetable right now.
Yeah, and I really like this pick mainly because he's going to take a little bit to grow into the player he's going to be in the future, but I do think that he can become that. It's going to take a little bit long for him to develop into what the Coyotes need him to be, but they have time. They're a team that isn't going anywhere fast.
Now we go to 12. The Columbus Blue Jackets pick again, and they select Denton Mateyuchuk, the defenseman, another defenseman. As we've talked about, defenseman is something the Blue Jackets needed, but he's a 17-year-old, so I would assume he needs a little bit more time. He'll spend a little bit more time in the system than the other defenseman they selected.
Yeah, he's a good skater. I think he'll be good offensively speaking, but he is a 17-year-old, like you said, so we still need to see a lot from him before he can make it to the league.
Now the Blackhawks select another pick. They traded with the Canadians. Frank Nazar, the center, and he was third on the USA Hockey National Team Development Program under 18 with 70 points. So 28 goals, 42 assists. Center is something I think the Blackhawks need. They need a lot of players at any position. They 2 years ago traded away a nice young center in, I can't remember his name. He went to the Golden Knights.
Center to the Golden Knights.
I thought it was a center. Or maybe it was a wing.
I'm trying to think. I know they just traded away for this pick Kirby Doc.
He was a former star.
Former star?
Yeah. Maybe he wasn't a center. But he was a former star, played on the Blackhawks, and then was traded to the Golden Knights 2 seasons ago. I'll look it up.
Okay.
Well, you talk about the pick.
Yeah, Frank Nazar is a good player. He's going to play at the University of Michigan next season. He's a really fast skater, but he's going to take time to develop, and that's why he's going to play college hockey next year. He's a good passer, and the United States got second place at the IIHF Under 18 World Championship, and he was a big part of that team. So while I do think they probably took him a little bit higher than I truly anticipated, I wouldn't be surprised necessarily if he can grow into a good player after his college development.
I was thinking of Matthias Janmark,
Oh,
and he's a left wing, so that's my bad. Now we go to 14. The Winnipeg Jets selected Rutger McGroarty, who's a right wing player. And he had 69 points, 35 goals, and 34 assists. And he was third with 6 power play goals. So we saw how great the power play was for Colorado. And it seems like Rutger can be a good player for the Jets. And the Jets, I think, have struggled with right wing because that was the trade with Columbus. Or did they trade it away?
yeah. Pierre-Luc Dubois. The Jets traded for him, but they also traded away Patrick Laine.
That's what I was thinking of at first.
Yeah. They got Pierre-Luc Dubois. Trade away Patrick Laine. And this is a good goal scorer. He's the second ever player to be born in the state of Nebraska and be drafted, which I found really interesting. But he is a high upside, and I think that he can be a top end power forward. So we'll see how he works out.
Now we go to 15. The Canucks selected Jonathan Lekaramaki, the right wing. And he has, I'm reading, he has a good two-way game, and he's 17, which makes sense for the Canucks because they just need young players and players with potential. And I think this works for them with Jonathan.
Yeah, and I think that he could be a good player. He has high upside. Obviously, he needs a good bit of growth, but the Canucks are a team heavy with forwards already, and unless they make a trade, they won't need him for at least another season.
Now we go to 16. The Sabres selected another center, Noah Osterland, with the Golden Knights pick that they received, and he scored 42 points, 9 goals, 33 assists in 32 games. So seems like he's not much of a goal scorer, but a lot of assists, which I think will be a good thing for the Sabres.
Yeah, and he's a good finesse type playmaker. He's a good passer. He's a little bit undersized, but I could really see him being a premier passer in the league. But again, another player that's going to need a lot of growth. And the Sabres, another team that's still in the rebuild. So the high-end skills are going to have to pay off in the future.
Now we go to 17. The Nashville Predators selected Joakim Kamel, the right wing, and he dealt with a shoulder injury last year, but it seems like he's a great score, and the Predators can always need that. They have defense covered with goaltending, so I think getting a nice offensive piece is a good pick for them.
Yeah, he was ranked number 2 in international skaters. So he has been one of the most highly touted players in the draft, and him falling this far is crazy. Obviously, he had the injury, but the injury didn't affect other players being selected above him, which really does surprise me because Joakim was a player that I was extremely high on, and him falling to 17, this is a steal for the Predators if he turns out to be even a portion of the player that he was before his injury.
Now we go to 18, where the Dallas Stars selected Leon Bichel, the defenseman, the left-handed defenseman, who is huge. He's 6'5" and 225 pounds, and the Stars needed defenseman, especially a young defenseman, as the only younger defensemen under 30 are Mira Heiskanen and then Harley, my bad. So they get another defenseman, and they need defenseman because they could lose John Klingberg this summer.
Yeah, and they already lost Jamie Alexiak last season, so I like this pick. He, like you said, 6'5", 225, strong two-way game. He probably won't put up many points, but I definitely think that he could be a good defensive player, which is always needed on a team that's any good.
Yep, we will have to see how he turns out. Now we go with 19. The Minnesota Wild selected Liam Ogren, left wing. He had 58 points, 33 goals, 25 assists in 30 games in the Swedish Junior League, and 2 games with 1 goal, 1 assist, or 2 points with 1 goal, 1 assist in 25 games in the Swedish Hockey League. So, what do you think about this pick?
Yeah, and this is another pick that I'm surprised he fell as far. He's ranked number 8 in international skaters. And Minnesota get this pick because they traded away Kevin Fiala to the Kings. Obviously, the Wild are more in a win now mode. They did re-sign Marc-Andre Fleury to a 2-year, $7 or $8 million deal. So they're definitely looking to win now. But you can't just forget about prospects, no matter how good you are. And we see that with teams all across sports. You still have to use your draft picks wisely. And so they're going to continue to try to build for a championship soon, but they are still building for the future as well.
Now we go to 20, where the Capitals selected what once people thought was the top 5 pick in Ivan Mashonchenko, but he is recovering from cancer, so that caused him to fall. But it seems like the Capitals, if they can capitalize on this and hopefully he stays healthy, Ivan, it can turn out really well for both parties.
Another player that really could be a steal to draft, him or the guy taken in 17. Both of these guys, injuries and or illness/cancer. He should be fine from what I've heard, and he's a great player. The Capitals could get a steal here. He has an NHL ready shot according to most scouts. He also has great speed, so he could really be a great player.
Now we go to 21, where the Penguins selected Owen Pickering, a defenseman, and he seems to have 17 power play points, 4 goals, 13 assists, and that is something the Penguins struggled with. So I think adding a defenseman and a guy that can play on the power play is a good thing for them.
Yeah, and the Penguins lack high-end defensive prospects, so this is a good selection, and I definitely think that he, in the future, could get a lot of ice time.
Now we go to the Anaheim Ducks, selecting Nathan Goucher, a center. And a center was, I think, another thing for the Ducks that they need to add, especially offensively, as he had 31 goals, 26 assists. So I think this should, if it works out, would be a nice pickup for the Ducks.
Yeah, and he's a good two-way player. He has a good bit of strength, and he's 6'3", 207, so he's a big center, and he could really be a force on both sides, defensively and offensively.
Now we go to 23, the 23rd pick, where the Blues selected Jimmy Snuggerud, the right wing, which is a big thing for them, as they say some scouts believe he can become a top 6 forward at the next level, and that would be a good thing because they might lose Tarasenko this offseason. So, as I think he still wants to trade for them. So, losing Tarasenko would stink, but they get a nice younger guy who wants to be there, which would be a good thing for them.
Yeah, and many people think that he has been a great improver the past 2 seasons. He's grown a lot, and that's a good thing. If you see a player continuing to get better and better after year, I definitely think he could be a very talented player moving forward, and I think that he could play in St. Louis next season uh, if he does get off to a good start.
Now we go to 24, where the Wild selected Danila Yurov, a right wing, and he's 18 years old. But the Wild they did have a good offense, but some players are getting older, and they want to just get some younger players on the offensive side to pair with Kaprizov.
Yeah, and he's another player with good two-way game and great offensive instincts. He he's gonna take a while to develop. He didn't play all that much when he was in Russia, so I think that they're probably gonna have to take his time with him again. But Minnesota looks committed to waiting on their prospects while they continue to fight for a championship.
Now we go to the 25th pick. The Chicago Blackhawks selected Sam Rinzel. This is from the trade that sent Mrazek to the Blackhawks. So they get a goalie in Mrazek and they get another defenseman, which is something we talked about. They struggled with defense as they traded away a couple of defensemen to start the year last year. But it looks like Rinzel would be a nice defenseman. He does have 9 goals, but a lot more assists. So it seems that he is going to be with the University of Minnesota in 2023, but it seems like he'd be a great passer from the defensive end.
Yeah, and he definitely has a good first pass and strong stick defending skills, and something that's very valuable for all defensemen is their ability to skate. And from what I've heard or what I see, he has a good ability to skate, and that means that he could chase down guys on the offensive end or defensive end. And him being 6'4", 180 definitely shows that he could be agile.
Now we go to 26, where the Canadiens selected Philip Messar, another right wing, another offensive presence for them. And he just needs some time to get bigger and stronger, as well. Last scout said, but he does have some great speed, so I understand why they take it. But seems like Canadians aren't in a rush, so getting a player like this who can turn out well for them, but will take time, seems to be a move that makes sense for them.
Yeah, and of the 3 Slovakian players selected in the first round, the Canadians take another one. So they have taken 2 of the 3 that were selected. And he is, like you said, going to take a time to grow into the player he is in the future. But pairing him next to a player who's from the same country, when not many players are from that country in the league, definitely is a good thing because he can grow side by side with the player.
Now, the San Jose Sharks selected Philip Bystedt as center. I know a lot of people saying it seemed like they reach, or people that I was listening to said it seemed like they may have reached for Bystedt. They don't understand why they select them this high, but it doesn't matter if Bystedt can turn out well as a center. It should be a good thing for them, as we've talked about center depth needed.
Yeah, he has good size, 6'4", 204, but he has struggled in games on the in the upper Swedish league, and he still needs time to grow. He's gonna take a while, but we'll see if San Jose actually did reach or if they just saw someone not many other players or people saw.
Now we go to the 28th pick, where for the third time in the first round, the Buffalo Sabres selected a center in Jiri Kulich. So we talked about center and what the Buffalo Sabres need, and they selected 3 centers, and this is the third one. So they could have center filled out for their team in the future if all 3 pan out.
Yeah, and this is very reminiscent of the Angels this past MLB draft, where they're just like, we have a hole at pitching, so we're only going to take pitchers. And Buffalo thought that to this first round. Hey, we need centers. We're just going to take centers. So they obviously know where they struggle, and they're addressing it.
Now we go to 29, with the Coyotes selected Maverick Lamariu, the defenseman. Um, a lot of people say his size and skill set are incredibly rare. He's only the third right shot defenseman, 6'7" or taller, to be drafted, which is crazy. The last one to be drafted was Tyler Myers, who was the number 12 pick It's selected in 2008. So how do we feel about this pick?
Impressive. Not many guys of his size, but he's only 199 pounds at 6'7", so he's light on his feet, looks to be agile, and tall guys like this are valuable if they can pan out correctly. So we'll see how it works, but uh, he's going to be an interesting prospect moving forward.
Now we go to the 30th pick, where Jets selected Brad Lambert, a center, who only had 10 points, 4 goals, 6 assists, while averaging 14 minutes and 15 seconds of ice time in 49 games. So it seems like he is a good player. He's 6 foot, 183 pounds, but needs some time to work on his shooting.
Yeah, he's another player that's going to take a while to grow. He's a smaller guy or he's not a smaller guy. He's 6 foot, but for a center, that's a little bit on the shorter side of things. Uh, and like you said, he didn't play all that much during his stint in Finland. So we'll see whether or not he moves over to the American or Canadian Hockey League, or if he stays in Finland trying to grow himself there.
Now we go to the 31st pick. Tampa Bay Lightning selected Isaac Howard, left wing, who's a great goal scorer, but it seems like this is just a guy that maybe they could trade, or just someone that can develop and then come in the future when their forwards are a little bit older.
Yeah, and he next season will be at Minnesota Duluth, a great hockey program. He projects as a top 6 forward, and he led the national team development program with 82 points, and he has a lot of upside. But we'll see how it works out. Tampa's made good selections in the past. I wouldn't be surprised if this is another one.
Now we go to the 32, where the Edmonton Oilers selected a left wing from Seattle. And hopefully a lot of people say he did take advantage of greater responsibility, more ice time this season, and he had 58 points, 32 goals, 26 assists. So it looks like the Edmonton Oilers got another scorer, which I'm not sure if that's the thing they need right now, since you have Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. I would have maybe thought they go for defenseman or maybe a goalie, which I don't think we had a goalie selected in the first round, did we?
No, goalies were scarce in this draft in general, so or will be, I should say. There's not that many highly touted. So
We'll have to see how the other draft shakes out as picks are going on right now, but that's all we got. So make sure to check out other videos. Make sure to check out our interview that we just did with Greg Tepper from Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. He is also on Valley Sports Southwest and TexasFootball.com. Make sure to check that out and let us know what you think. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.